Part 20. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 192. Among this group of people, Lily was wearing a goose yellow tulle floor-length skirt, and a white light silk dress on her upper body. Her green belly band was looming in the wrapped chest. Among this group of women who seemed to be ignorant of the fireworks of the world, because the differences forced her to find a way out. Beauty always looks good no matter what kind of clothes she wears, especially the original blue Lily with delicate facial features. Now when Lily entered the garden and met the group of women who were enjoying the flowers but actually waiting for the emperor, everyone was shocked. The woman's face couldn't help but stiffen, and her eyes showed a bit of anger. The noble lady is here. Concubine Cien has the highest status among a group of women. She was originally the daughter of a fourth-rank official. Before Lily entered the palace, her appearance was the most outstanding in the harem. She used to be quite favored. Qi Yufeng would rest with her for almost 3 or 4 days in the middle of the month, so she gave birth to a daughter early. With her love and heirs, she was now promoted to the position of a virtuous concubine, one of the 4 concubines. If it weren't for the group of beauties that Nan Zhao came in later, and the appearance of Lily among them overwhelmed her, I'm afraid she would still be doting on the harem now, so she is the one who hates Lily the most among the group of women. In the plot in the early stage, everyone in the harem dealt with the original owner and ignored Li Baisu. Concubine Cien can be said to have played an indispensable role. Lily knew that Concubine Cien had always disliked her, so when she saw her speaking coldly, she bent her knees and saluted, "I've met Sister Cien Concubine." The word sister stung Concubine Cien's heart. She was originally young and beautiful, but now she was less than 20 years old. However, just a few years after entering the palace, she met a wave of beauties from the original Nanzhao kingdom. He became an old man in the palace. The emperor doesn't dote on her as much as before. He entered her palace for less than 3 days in a month. 2 of the times, she had to use her daughter to invite the emperor. At this time, Lily was serious, but because Concubine Cien was unhappy, she heard other things. She just pretended not to hear Lily. As she said, she turned around and started joking with the people next to her. Everyone could see that she wanted to deliberately embarrass Lily, and they all cooperated. This move was used by Wang Gairan before. Lily sneered twice in her heart, and just when she was about to remind Concubine Cien, Qi Yufeng's voice came over, "What are you talking about, so lively?" When everyone heard this, there were expressions of surprise on everyone's face. At the corner of the imperial garden, which was full of osmanthus trees, Qi Yufeng, wearing a bright yellow uniform, led 2 eunuchs and walked towards the side. Concubine Cien's eyes were filled with surprise. Looking intoxicated, Qi Yufeng walked directly to Lily without even looking at her. He pulled her up and said, "Dear concubine, could it be that she knew that I was coming, so she was waiting here to salute early in the morning?" Concubine Cien's face looked a little ugly. Her lips moved and she glared at Lily warningly, but Lily didn't look at her. She just lazily stretched out her hand to straighten her hair. Seeing the vicious eyes of the people around her, she deliberately pretended to be weak and boneless. "I'm not the only one who knows that the emperor is coming. Aren't all the sisters already prepared early in the morning?" Although everyone had such thoughts, many people couldn't help it when Lily exposed her, and their faces turned red. Qi Yufeng saw the expressions of people around him suppressing their shame and annoyance, and the smile at the corner of his mouth became deeper. While hugging Lily tightly, he said seriously, "You guys stay here for now, this girl is talking nonsense, I will teach you a lesson." Her concubine Cien was a little anxious when she heard this. A group of them sat here for a long time, basking in the sun, just to stop Qi Yufeng back to her palace, but now Qi Yufeng appeared, but as soon as she came, she was seduced by Lily. Concubine Cien secretly regretted that she should not have deliberately embarrassed her in public before. If she had known that the emperor would come at this time, she would not have given concubine Xian this chance to stand out. But now it was too late to regret. Now, when she was about to use her daughter's name to invite Qi Yufeng to sit in her palace, a delicate voice rang out. If life is just like the first time we met, why would the autumn wind draw a fan with sadness? It's easy to change the heart of an old friend, but it's easy to change the heart of an old friend. This voice was a little melancholy, it sounded strange, but it seemed like he had heard it somewhere before, and Lily felt a wave of sadness in her heart. A bad premonition came to their minds, and everyone looked in the direction where Qi Yufeng had just come. No one was seen, but only the emerald green skirt was vaguely visible among the treetops. The young master is just recovering from his illness, why not go back to the house and have a rest? Some palace maids must have been advising her. People who can be called young masters are not of high status. The person who just recited the poem may be the one in the palace's mouth. Little master. Sure enough, the moving voice rang out again, the spring is so beautiful, wouldn't it be a pity not to go out and walk around? When Lily heard this, she finally remembered Li Baisu, who had disappeared for half a year. After all, there was no time-traveling woman in this plot. Who else could pronounce Nalan Rongruo's famous lines except Li Baisu, who had the system? When two people appeared at the corner, Lily saw Li Baisu walking in front at a glance. She was wearing emerald green clothes and looked cute. I haven't seen her for more than half a year, and her skin has become even whiter and more transparent. Her figure is like a weak willow blowing in the wind. There is a bit of tenderness between her eyebrows, as if she has just recovered from a serious illness. There is no color on her face, but that her eyes are so watery that people can't bear to look away even after taking one look at them. The expressions of concubine Xian and others instantly turned bad. Although concubine Xian didn't like Lily, at least Lily didn't pretend like that. As soon as Li Baisu appeared, she was reciting poems and making delicate gestures. Everyone secretly cursed Hume. Son, when Lily saw that it was indeed Li Baisu, her body couldn't help but tense up. Where did the bright spring scenery come from? Sister Li, spring has passed and summer has come. Could it be that you have stayed in the palace for half a year and don't even know how many years have passed outside? As soon as Lily saw Li Baisu, she wondered if she was influenced by the original owner of the body. Affected by this, waves of resentment welled up in her heart, and she couldn't help it. Looking at you, you seem like a fairy who doesn't eat the fireworks of the world. Whatever poem you recite makes me feel beautiful. Someone couldn't hold it back and started laughing while covering half of his mouth with a fan. Qi Yufeng also swayed. At first, Li Baisu was a little surprised. She didn't wear any more. It was the first time he saw her. She was wearing pink clothes at that time, but this emerald green dress made her skin whiter than snow. She was used to seeing all the beauties in the palace wearing green gauze to bring out the ethereal aura. Leng Heshe felt beautiful when he saw other colors. Especially paired with Li Baisu's big eyes, it is even more charming. A playful smile flashed in Qi Yufeng's eyes. He found that after half a year, Li Baisu, who had made him unhappy at the time, seemed to have changed a lot. Not only did his original cute temperament suddenly turn into weak and helpless, she also even the eyes seemed a little bigger, and although the skin had always been white, the figure seemed to have changed. He was lucky to have this woman that day. Although Qi Yufeng never remembered most of the women he had slept with, Li Baisu was originally of a low status and ordinary appearance. He had no interest in her at first, but his wife seemed to be a little interested in her back then. So he paid more attention, and now it seemed that Li Baisu had indeed changed. Everyone suddenly changed. Qi Yufeng was wary, but his eyes showed a thoughtful smile. He glanced at Li Baisu, hugged Lily, and said, "Since all your beloved concubines are here today, the one ahead is pavilion, why don't you all, my beloved concubines, come into the pavilion and perform a performance, and let me see who else's poems can surpass Li's." The emperor actually called out Li Baisu's surname in one breath. Although Li Baisu had resentment towards Qi Yufeng, after all, Qi Yufeng had just pulled up her pants and turned her back on her when she had just lost her virginity. She was hating in her heart, but when she heard the words in her mind coming, ding. Congratulations to the player, the Emperor recognizes you. This is a good first step. The system will give you 2 points of encouragement. Please work hard in the future. It had been a long time since she heard this voice. Li Baisu breathed a sigh of relief. Because of the benefits she had received, she rarely showed a grateful look to Qi Yufeng. Thinking that she had not received help from the system for several months, now in order to seduce Qi Yufeng, she couldn't use these 2 points indiscriminately. It's not good to add it to the figure. If the Emperor is not willing to favor her, it will be useless no matter how good the figure is. The first and most important thing is to make her face more attractive. After thinking about it, Li Baisu added these 2 points to the confused and melancholy eyes. As soon as she heard the system prompt that the click was successful, she felt that the angle of her eyes had changed a little. She raised her head, her eyes filled with tears. Miao Mu stared at Qi Yufeng's back, and when she heard the gasps of several women around her and the rising resentment level in the system prompts, she couldn't help but laugh slightly. It's a pity that Qi Yufeng didn't notice her, but as long as there was a chance to sit together, she would definitely get Qi Yufeng's eyes. He had seen her eyes in the mirror, and even she, a woman, could not escape such temptation. She believes Qi Yufeng will also like it. What the system gave her was extremely effective. She had to seize this opportunity, whether it was for the system or for herself. She would never be the last to be bullied in the Daki Palace. Lily almost spat out a mouthful of old blood at this moment. Although she knew it was best not to lose her temper in front of Qi Yufeng, she thought that when she was about to leave, she met Li Baisu again, and Qi Yufeng even proposed to let people perform their talents. How could she? What kind of talent did you get? After doing so many missions, she is quite good at martial arts, and also knows about voodoo, but all she knows are life-saving things or things that are useful for the mission. She doesn't know any music, chess, calligraphy, painting, poetry, or song. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 193. What's wrong with my beloved concubine? Qi Yufeng felt that the person in his arms was a little stiff, so he couldn't help but laugh, and said warmly, "But you feel the sun is too strong outside, making you dizzy. Hurry up and sit in the pavilion." After Qi Yufeng finished speaking, he touched Lily's face lovingly with one hand. Lily suddenly felt the eyes of concubine Xian and others who were glaring at Li Baisu falling on her like thorns. "Your Majesty is really in a good mood." Lily felt a little angry. At this moment, she could not help but think of the embarrassing situation when Si Xiang said to beat the drum and pass the flowers when she was doing Tang Bohu's task of lighting up the autumn fragrance. With systematic help, she knew that Li Baisu would be there later without even thinking about it. She would definitely be in the limelight. Thinking that she had been busy for a long time, but in the end Li Baisu took advantage of it, Lily couldn't help but curse Qi Yufeng secretly. "No, I'm just inviting you all to have fun together." Qi Yufeng saw the blush on her cheeks, and there was a bit of fire in her eyes. If he hadn't hooked Lily's slim waist at this moment, I'm afraid she would have already twisted my skirt and entered the pavilion first. 2 red clouds appeared on her originally beautiful face. The face that looked comfortable after the drastic change in temperament became a little bright because of anger. Qi Yufeng felt satisfied when he saw it. He couldn't help but think of the reason why he remembered government affairs. He has not set foot in the harem for 3 or 4 days. Originally, he was at this age when he was strong, and there was no taboo against female sex. Seeing Lily's appearance, Qi Yufeng decided to wait until Li Baisu finished singing the opera. Go to Lily Palace. Concubine Xian and others could not care less about fighting with Li Baisu at the moment. After all, although there were many seats in the pavilion, there was a need for how to sit there. If they could rely on the emperor, it would be a dream for everyone. At this moment, everyone was scrambling to stay close to Qi Yufeng. Except for the virtuous second concubine. Gui Bai, Zhao Yi, and others all forgot about the position behind Qi Yufeng. If they plan well, even if the emperor cannot see their faces, they can still get close to the emperor. Your Majesty, this is unfair. Everyone entered the pavilion and sat down one by one. Wang Gairan, who had a problem with Lily in the past, was an ordinary person. Now he could not squeeze through the others. He only moved a little slower and was far away. Squeezed into a corner. In the past, Lily was just a person who always lived in her palace, but now she has suddenly transformed into a nobleman of the same level as her. She was even given a rare word by the emperor. The noble king has been scolding her for an unknown amount of time. Look at it now. Naturally, I feel jealous and hateful when I see Lily. If Behi hadn't been in such a state of despair, I'm afraid she wouldn't be so jealous, but people who were clearly inferior to her back then were now on equal footing with her. Naturally, Wang Gairan couldn't bear it. The palace saw that in 2 years a large number of beauties would enter the palace. Son. Now that she has not become an old man, the emperor has already forgotten her, and will wait until later to see a younger and more beautiful girl. Where is her place in the palace? However, what Wang Gairan did not expect was that Qi Yufeng had not forgotten her at all, because when Lily lived in her palace, she used thousands of methods to pull Qi Yufeng away. Now Qi Yufeng was deeply impressed when he saw her, but I remember that there was such a person, but it left a bad impression. If a group of beauties that I didn't dislike were flirting with me, it might be a kind of enjoyment for Qi Yufeng, but Wang Gairan was originally he didn't like it. His coquettish behavior not only didn't make Qi Yufeng soften his heart, but also made him frown in disgust. No one else has any objections, but you talk a lot. If you think it's unfair, just go out on your own. After Qi Yufeng finished speaking, he pulled Lily up, who was sitting next to him, and glanced at the Xianhui second concubine. You also think it's unfair, Bar? Concubine Xian was the most favored in the past. Although concubine Hui also gave birth to one of the only 2 daughters for Qi Yufeng, concubine Hui was an old man in the palace before Qi Yufeng ascended the throne. Like the queen, concubine Hui was an old man in the palace. The emperor is still 2 years older and is now 30. In a palace where there is always no shortage of beauties, the emperor only went to her palace to see the eldest princess and hardly ever had anything to do with her in London. Therefore, although she wanted to compete for favor, she was only fighting for her daughter and her status. Although she was jealous of who the emperor wanted to favor, she was not as ugly as a good concubine. Your Majesty, according to my concubine, Lan Gairan's status is indeed too low. In the past, the virtuous concubine in the palace was the most favored and the best looking, but as soon as Lan Lily came, she regarded her as the youngest in the world. The appearance that could be compared to others was suppressed. She was already bitter and jealous, but now she saw that a little nobleman was qualified to sit next to Qi Yufeng like herself. Although she didn't like other women to be on an equal footing with her, but if it was a woman like Lily, in her opinion, it would be more reassuring to sit with concubine Hui instead. At least concubine Hui no longer accepted the favor. What concubine Xian said is right. In that case, concubine Hui can sit on my right side. He Gairan's status is indeed lower. According to my will, I will be promoted to concubine Xian. Qi Yufeng glanced at concubine Xian with a smile, but not a smile. There was a cold look in her eyes, which made concubine Xian tremble. After a while, she understood what Qi Yufeng meant, and her face turned green and white. In front of so many people, Qi Yufeng didn't spare her any face at all, which made her feel a little embarrassed to get off the stage, but she didn't dare to leave with her sleeves, so she had to bite her lip, with a few tears in her eyes. Chu Chu glanced pitifully at Qi Yufeng, and when her eyes fell on Lily, who was being held by Qi Yufeng's hand, there was no warmth in her eyes at all. The concubine of Dachi's harem is already the official lord of the first palace, with the status of the fourth rank. Although Chi Yufeng likes beauty, there are not many people who are favored by him every year, so he picks up Lily as soon as it comes. After getting such a big advantage, many people's eyes seemed to burst out with fire, but Lily was really unhappy after getting the advantage. Your Majesty, peace between concubines, although the meaning is good, I can't afford this title. Seeing that she still knew how to recognize faces, concubine Xian looked better. She originally thought that when Chi Yufeng was in a good mood, she dared to refute his yaxing theory and said that the title was not good. Chi Yufeng's character would definitely make her unhappy. When everyone was secretly rejoicing, Chi Yufeng thought for a while but nodded. My beloved concubine is right, in that case, let's be your concubine. Concubine, concubine, you still like me. Although Lily's words sounded nice, Chi Yufeng knew that she disliked that person in her heart. Name, and now he deliberately gave her a position. Everyone took a breath and gritted their teeth. The harem system of the entire Dachi dynasty has always been strict, and it is very difficult to improve one's status. Above the concubines are noble concubines. As a rule, there can be 6 concubines in total, but now Chi Yufeng has many women, but he is stingy. In terms of status, only 3 of the 6 concubines now accounted for it. Now a nobleman was directly promoted to 2 positions by Chi Yufeng in a few words. Many people gritted their teeth and tore handkerchiefs in their hearts, but did not dare to say a word of rebuttal. Come on, I have to congratulate you with a fake smile. Sister Lan is now deeply favored by the emperor. Congratulations. Concubine Xian almost broke her teeth. She couldn't help but secretly regret that she should not have mentioned the position before. Otherwise, how could Chi Yufeng offer Lily any position? Without the promotion of status, Lily would not have been directly promoted to a noble concubine. I remember that I had to endure it for more than a year, and then I became pregnant before I was mentioned as one of the 6 guests. It was not until after I gave birth to the princess that I was named a virtuous concubine in the name of her meritorious service to the royal family. Her speed was already fast, but in this place in the palace, concubine Xian felt as if she had spent most of her life. Now that it was so easy to see others, she really didn't know what it was like. Seeing that the emperor favored Lily so much, if she had an heir, wouldn't she immediately pursue the title of concubine? The title of concubine Hui was just because the emperor was concerned about his past friendship. In fact, his position was not high. Among the noble, virtuous, and virtuous, he had the lowest status. It would be fine if the emperor only made Lily a concubine. 4th concubine, won't I have to bow to her when I see her in the future? Thinking of this, concubine Xian felt burning in her heart, and she couldn't help but have some murderous intention in her heart. The key point is that it is easy for Lily to improve her status. What bothers Xianfei the most is that because she refuted the emperor's words, Chi Yufeng did not get angry. Instead, he promoted her status as a child's play. There has never been such a precedent. Even when the emperor doted on her, the concubine did not dare to pamper her like this, otherwise she might end up being left out. Lily dared to do this. The key is that Chi Yufeng still leaving her alone. This made concubine Xian very wary. At the same time, she also resented Wang Gairan, who just had nothing to say, and Li Baisu, who wanted to read some poems and made the emperor find an opportunity to mention Lily's status. Your Majesty, it would be too boring to just talk about poems and songs. Why don't you play drums and pass the flowers, and let the emperor do it for you? How about I pass the flowers to your sisters? After reading a poem, Li Baisu, who had not had time to talk to Chi Yufeng except to say hello, said she spoke delicately. Her voice had been systematically strengthened, and now it sounded delicate. As soon as she spoke, the sound reached her ears, making people's hearts tremble. Lily was still standing at this moment. After concubine Hui listened to Qi Yufeng's words and concubine Xian sat on his left and right sides respectively, Lily lost her seat. When she was about to twist her skirt and sit down at the seat furthest away from Qi Yufeng but he laughed lazily. "Where are you going?" Qi Yufeng took her into his arms regardless of Len, and Lily immediately felt her back hit his chest. The weather in late summer was already hot, so this at the moment she was wearing very thin clothes, with no more than a tube top wrapped in a thin layer of silver white satin. At this moment, she could even feel the five-clawed golden dragon embroidered on Qi Yufeng's collar through the thin clothes. To be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 194. Why can't my beloved concubine even stand still? Qi Yufeng laughed in a low tone, and without caring about others, he directly hugged Lily and sat on his lap. "Since you have nowhere to go, sit on me." Everyone took a breath of cold air. Not only the expressions of concubine Xian and others changed, but also Li Base, who lowered her head. While the girls lowered their heads to adjust the expressions on their faces, Qi Yufeng held her in his arms. The beauty's eyes circled around the group of women, and finally fell on Li Base, who. This Li Base who is really a bit evil, similar to Lily. At that time, Lily changed for the first time, and Li Base who also made a gesture of meeting him by chance on that day. Later, whether Lily was training palace servants or otherwise, she seemed to be using Li. Qi Yufeng was really curious as to what the two of them were trying to do with his family as an example. Seeing the tepid appearance of these two women, he simply added fuel to the fire. No matter what the purpose of these two people was, it was a good thing that it was exposed early. A cold look flashed in Qi Yufeng's eyes, and then he lowered his head and gently touched Lily's head with his lips. Lily instantly felt the murderous intention coming from Qi Yufeng. She had done many missions and had a very keen sense of danger. However, she didn't know whether Qi Yufeng's murderous intention was aimed at her or Li Base, who. To be honest, during the mission she is not afraid of dying, but she cannot fail in her mission. At least she must kill Li Base before she dies. Even if she does not get Qi Yufeng's favor, at least she cannot let Li Base dote on her exclusively. Her mission is related to her. She would never give up her life easily. Feeling that the body in his arms became stiff and then softened, Qi Yufeng chuckled twice, and the hand that was originally around Lily's waist was concealed by the layers of skirts. His fingers moved gently on her waist. "Your Majesty is holding your concubine like this. Why is your concubine playing with you?" Li Base pouted as if she was naive and dissatisfied. At the same time, she lowered her head and fiddled with the waistband with her hands. She had a pampering system, so she naturally knew who had a dislike for her and who disliked her. As long as she wanted to know, the system would tell everyone. Her. Among the information the system told him, no one liked him, but Lily was the only one who disliked him the most. The eldest princess of Nanzhao Kingdom seemed to dislike her very much, with her dislike level reaching 60%. Even though Li Base knew that she actually had no personal grudge against Lily, the system reminded her to be careful. Lily. After entering the harem, either she would die or he would die. Li Base didn't want to die, so naturally she had no choice but to defeat Lily. If she wants to stand out in the Daki harem, even if she cannot take the position of queen, she must become the only one in the emperor's mind, otherwise the favored concubine system will leave her. She will not allow such a thing to happen, so if anyone wants to stop in front of her, then she would have no choice but to shovel away all the stones blocking the road. Ding, player Li Base who understands the true meaning of the harem, and will receive 5 attribute points as a gift, as well as a slender water snake waist. The sound of the system rang, and Li Base who was overjoyed. In addition to tapping 2 of the dots on her eyes, she lit the other 3 dots into a dance, because she used to be the daughter of a general of Nanzao Kingdom and rode on horses all year round on her back. Her body is very flexible as long as she dances with a few points. If she dances after beating the drum and passing flowers, she will definitely make Qi Yufeng's attention focus on herself. Lily had already noticed when Li Baisu got the slender water snake waist. Her eyes had been falling on Li Baisu. Li Baisu's waist suddenly became a little thinner, and the slight movement of the skirt seemed to many people to be just a slight sway of the body. Although her tattoos suddenly stirred up, she did see the changes in Li Baisu's waist. What she saw at the same time was Qi Yufeng. His pupils shrank slightly and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. Although he didn't know how Li Baisu had such a change, in order to prevent others from discovering that he had just showing his extreme shock, Qi Yufeng simply buried his head between Lily's heads. When he raised his head again, he had returned to his previous smiling appearance. Everyone in the pavilion had their own thoughts, and the gongs and drums were quickly brought over. Qi Yufeng took Lily's hand and put the drumsticks in her hands. "Beloved, beat it for me." Everyone's eyes fell on Lily again, and even Li Baisu quickly looked up at Lily. Knowing that Qi Yufeng probably put herself on the fire deliberately, but Lily didn't want it at this moment, she turned to Qi Yufeng and smiled slightly, took a deep breath, stretched out her hand and played the drum, dong dong dong. As soon as the voice sounded, the flower was reluctantly sent out by concubine Xian. Qi Yufeng originally thought that Lily would deliberately prevent the flower from falling into Li Baisu's hands. Before the flower was sent out by Li Baisu, Lily suddenly the drum stopped. Li Zionv, Qi Yufeng glanced at Lily meaningfully, and the hand around her waist was a little heavier. Lily felt it, but turned to Qi Yufeng and smiled sweetly. "Your Majesty, since I am a concubine playing drums, isn't it like this? Is it my concubine's turn to raise the issue of punishment?" When Li Baisu heard this, a bad premonition came into her heart. Just when she was about to speak, Qi Yufeng quickly nodded in agreement. "In that case, Li Zionv will do 10 sit ups." Lily glanced at Li Baisu, whose face was green and white. When the flowers began to fall on her hands, she couldn't hide her joy. For a moment, his expression was very ugly, and Qi Yufeng asked, "What are sit ups?" Lily was about to stand up to demonstrate, but Qi Yufeng hugged her tighter. The friction just now made him a little moved. How could he let Lily go now? He held her firmly in his arms. As long as she sat down and taught Li Baisu, it would be enough. Li Zionv lay on the ground, her legs were pressed by the palace servants, she hugged her head and sat up. "It's very simple. It only takes 10 anyway. It's not you who wants to do these exercises, so it doesn't matter if you can't do without them." Lily pointed at Li Baisu several times and everyone understood what she meant, and everyone's expressions became strange. Li Baisu's pretty face turned pale with anger. She had prepared to dance, sing, and recite poems to express her talents, but Lily actually asked her to do some sit ups. She had never heard anything like this in the world. She bit her lips tightly for a moment. He secretly made a note for Lily in his heart. He stared at Qi Yufeng with tearful eyes. "Your Majesty, how can I lie down on the ground in public?" This not only lost face and showed no beauty, but also made Li Baisu feel humiliated. When they were in Nanzao Kingdom, Lan Bei was the eldest princess, so it was okay to humiliate her. Now Nanzao Kingdom has been destroyed by Deqi, and they are both concubines of Deqi's harem, although Lily is beautiful. But she has a beloved concubine system that is no worse than hers, but she still lacks some opportunities. It will be a matter of time before she can overtake Lily. When her figure and appearance become 100% beautiful, even Lily will not be her opponent. But Lily still wanted to treat her like this at this moment. Li Baisu clenched her hands tightly, a gloomy look flashed in her eyes. The beloved concubine system had said that in this harem, people have been eating people since ancient times. Land. If I don't fight back ruthlessly, I may be humiliated and stepped on like today. Li Beishu's expression changed. Although there was still a smile, a bit of determination flashed in those bright eyes. Qi Yufeng looked at her quickly, calmed down, smiled and said to Li Chengui beside him, "Have someone spread a layer of silk on Mrs. Li's side." He originally thought that Li Beishu was weird, but now it seemed that she had some tricks up her sleeve. It would be best if Lily could force her to lose her composure. Faced with such a somewhat evil person, Qi Yufeng wanted to see what she had in store. How could he speak for her at this time? She endured the humiliation and did 10 sit-ups. The drum beat stopped just as Li Beishu received the bouquet. Lily then asked her to hold her head and do 10 squats. These movements were very difficult for a person who used to live all year round. It was nothing for a general's daughter on horseback, and her body was not tired. However, Li Beishu felt insulted in her heart. When she could no longer keep the delicate smile on her face, she decided that if Lily let her go again, when she did these embarrassing actions, she hugged Qi Yufeng's thigh regardless of shame, but Qi Yufeng stood up holding Lily. "I'm tired, I watched a good show today, Li's performance was good, I'm very pleased, all my dear concubines, please leave." Everyone felt disappointed at the same time, but also felt a little lucky. After all, although everyone failed to seduce Qi Yufeng with their talent show, at least they were not like Li Beishu, whose hair was messed up by Lily, panting, and looking extremely embarrassed. Appearance. Concubine Xian determined in her heart that Lily was just a jealous and brainless person, and she was quite satisfied. It was so easy to deal with such a person. Fortunately, she valued Lily so much before, but now it seems that he is just a superficial person. Just a woman. When Qi Yufeng hugged Lily and left, both of them felt Li Beishu's gaze on them behind him. Qi Yufeng frowned calmly. When he looked down at Lily, he saw that she had the same expression and couldn't help it. He laughed out loud. "My beloved concubine teased Mr. Li in every possible way today. I wonder what grudges there are between my beloved concubine and her." Naturally, Lily would not tell the truth. She just picked up some small things that happened in Nanzhao Kingdom in the past, and casually made up something that Li Beishu was not used to. Qi Yufeng did not ask further questions, and the matter just passed away. It's just that Lily has been promoted to a noble concubine unlike in the plot. In addition, she is considered favored, so there are more people who want to seek refuge with her. Li Beishu later created several chance encounters with Qi Yufeng, but she was summoned once to serve as a bed attendant, but she didn't know what she had done. The status was promoted to Changzhe the next day. While Lily was still thinking about whether this was a sign of Li Beishu's return to favor, Qi Yufeng didn't do anything until a few months later. Then call her to sleep with her. Time quickly passed and came to the main point where the relationship between Qi Yufeng and Li Beishu heated up. When the Mid-Autumn Festival came, everyone in the harem attended this grand event. Even some palace officials with low status on weekdays were all crowded. On this day, he wanted to attract Qi Yufeng's attention, and an assassin appeared in the plot on this day. When everyone was rushing to escape at the critical moment of life and death, Li Beishu followed the system's instructions and stood directly in front of Qi Yufeng, blocking him from the fatal blow. One knife. If Qi Yufeng's original favorability towards her was only 40%, after this knife, he felt the fear of almost losing Li Beishu, and was moved by Li Beishu's behavior of risking his life to shield himself from the knife. In Qi Yufeng's life until now he had never met a woman so willing to sacrifice for him in his life. Because of the scarcity, he seemed particularly touched, so his relationship quickly heated up. In the end, the harem almost exclusively favored Li Beishu, which made the original owner do something to frame Li Beishu for falling out of favor. Lily hadn't decided yet whether she should block Qi Yufeng's knife. The Mid-Autumn Festival is coming soon. Now she can be regarded as one of Qi Yufeng's favorite concubines. Therefore, during the Mid-Autumn Festival, in addition to the Queen Mother and the Emperor sitting on the main seats respectively, a group of palace concubines sat on both sides in turn. Lily only sat under concubine Hui, not far from Qi Yufeng. Soon the food and drinks were served, and a group of kabuki actors also came up. In the original plot, the assassin was hidden among this group of people. Just like what happened in the plot, the group of dancers quickly took out the soft swords from their waists and rushed towards Qi Yufeng. There was a scream in the hall. Concubine Xian and others were so frightened that they turned pale and instinctively tried to hide under the table. Qi Yufeng's face turned cold. Protect the Queen Mother and the Empress. The group of dancers rushed towards him. Qi Yufeng saw that he was sitting there dumbly. As a lily, he was actually familiar with the scene of being assassinated since he was a child. The assassin would never be able to hurt him, but Lily, a weak woman, might not be able to do so. Thinking that she might die, Qi Yufeng felt an inexplicable displeasure in his heart. He didn't want Lily to die, especially after this woman had changed and seemed a little different to him. He stood up and strode across the table. He pulled Lily into his arms, and the long sword that was originally pointed at Lily narrowly passed behind her. 2 hairs were shaved off. Don't hurt the Emperor. Li Baisu was reminded by the system and knew that at this moment, she was ready to block Qi Yufeng's knife. She would not die anyway. As long as the system was in hand, even if she had 1 life left, as long as her tone lasts, she will never die. Li Baisu rushed out confidently. A look of impatience and sarcasm flashed in Qi Yufeng's eyes. He was not as weak as everyone thought. He knocked the dancing dancer away with 1 palm, and his sleeves followed the force. When Feng Fiwu made a whooshing sound, Li Baisu's move towards him blocked the force of his palm that was about to shock the dancer to death. He simply changed his palm to grab. When he saw the dancer rushing towards him, he grabbed Li Baisu in his hand and threw it at the dancer. With a poof sound, Li Baisu had already prepared herself to be stabbed under the system's calculations. At most, the stab would hit her stomach and cause excessive bleeding, but she would never die. But because of Qi Yufeng's sudden change, he lifted Li Baisu up, so the position of the dagger naturally changed. Instead of penetrating the soft lower abdomen, it penetrated Li Baisu's heart. A sharp pain hit her chest. Her body hit a soft female body and flew out involuntarily. Qi Yufeng exerted great force. When Li Baisu took the dance with him, when Ji hit the ground, both of them involuntarily spurted out a mouthful of blood at the same time. After suffering such a heavy blow and a fatal injury to her chest, Li Baisu felt that most of her soul had been lost. Her chest was numb with pain, and the large amount of blood loss caused her heart to beat very fast and her ears to tremble. The cold voice of the system came from the side, "The host is dead and cannot be saved. Unbind. The host is dead and cannot be saved. Unbind." Before Lily could decide whether to block Qi Yufeng's sword, she had already seen him deal with everyone neatly. He hugged Lily and took a few steps back. A large number of Yulin came up and held the 2 of them tightly. Blocking the back, he snorted impatiently, "You don't overestimate your capabilities." I don't know if this was said to Li Baisu or to the group of assassins. As soon as the Yulin army and the Emperor's secret guards took action, a group of assassins died and were caught. Delay it, leave no one alive. Qi Yufeng had no intention of interrogating, and directly issued a killing order. Afterwards, an inventory found that except for 6 palace residents who were dead, the rest of the palace concubines were only slightly injured or injured at most. It was a fright, but Li Baisu, who wanted to block Qi Yufeng's sword, crushed an assassin to death, and then died in the west. Li Chenzai has made great contributions to rescuing us. He will be granted the honorary title and be given back to Nanzhao. He will be buried in his homeland. Your concubine, the Lan family, has made great contributions to rescuing us and will be granted the title of concubine Shu after clearing up the chaos in the scene. Qi Yufeng ignored concubine Xian and others who were still in shock. His expression directly conveyed the decree, and the queen smiled bitterly behind him. Everyone could see clearly that it was Lily who had made a contribution to the rescue just now. It was obviously the Emperor's noble concubine who couldn't wait to save him, but this time seeing the Emperor's sullen expression, thinking about his actions of killing 2 assassins just now, and the murderous aura lingering in Qi Yufeng's body, naturally no one dared to refute. Lily didn't know why Qi Yufeng suddenly made her a concubine, but with Li Baihu's death, most of her mission had been completed. Although Li Baihu's death left her speechless, she breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time, Qi Yufeng, I no longer have the somewhat flattering attitude I had before. Because her body has been drinking bazai soup, even Cheng Chong has no more children. In this way, Qi Yufeng can pamper her with peace of mind. However, Lily has lost Li Baihu, a potential target of the mission. The original owner fulfilled one of his wishes, and he no longer cares whether Qi Yufeng will be dissatisfied or not. The original owner's parents and relatives were all dead. She was alone and had no heirs, so she acted more willfully than before. Unknowingly, her reputation for being domineering spread among the harem of Daki. Lily was not like the original owner. After falling deeply in love with Qi Yufeng, her attitude made Qi Yufeng indulge her even more. Although she died childless in the harem, she still lived comfortably with Qi Yufeng's indulgence. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 195. Li Yangzi in the space was waiting in advance this time. When Lily appeared, he nodded, "Congratulations, the mission is completed." Li Yangzi originally thought that Lily might not be able to complete this task of being able to defeat a woman with a system based on his own ability. To his surprise, Li Baihu died. Although the original owner did not particularly favor her towards the last emperor, and did not torture the emperor to the point where he seemed to have some unfulfilled wishes, Li Yangzi did not tell Lily this. He just asked, this time, "Do you want to give me to you, 1 point, where to add it?" Although Lily guessed that her mission was completed, she was relieved when she actually heard Li Yangzi say this. She was a little hesitant. She may have been influenced by the original owner in this mission. She felt that she wanted to please Qi Yufeng and lowered her body. And there is a strange kind of irritability. This is not good. If there is a slight mistake, it may affect the mission. Li Yangzi said that this is due to mental reasons, but his current force value is too low, and he always feels like the attribute value is not sufficient. She couldn't help but think of Li Baihu's system. The attribute points seemed to be free of charge. It would take more than half a year to fill up all the attribute points. How could it be like she had done many missions like her, and now she was still at a point where all the data were generally low? I want to add it to the spirit. Lily gritted her teeth and decided to add it to the spirit. Although setting the force value column high would help her practice martial arts very quickly, if she takes her time and gives more she could master it in a few years, so she hesitated for a while and decided to put in the mental effort. Okay, Li Yangzi responded, and Lily's information appeared again in the starry sky. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 64, out of 100. Appearance, 64, out of 100. Physical strength, 62, 100 full points. Force, 32, out of 100 points. Spirit, 19, out of 100 points. Reputation, 16, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique. Specialties, Intermediate Cooking Skills, Advanced Acting Skills, 5 Elements, and Bagua Skills. Charisma, 34, out of 100. Collection, Corpse King's Love, Saint's Blessing, Angel's Heart, Dragon King's Promise. This time, except for appearance and charm, the other attribute values have never increased. It's not like I got as much as I did in the last mission. but Lily also knew that last time was an exception. Therefore, I was satisfied. After thinking about the Dragon King's promise, I glanced at Li Yangzi. The promise of the Dragon King in my collection. Before she finished asking the question, Li Yangzi nodded slightly. I thought you wouldn't ask. This is the promise made by the Dragon King of Jinghe River to you. After you complete the task, the ability of Shiyun to summon thunder is given to you. You can use it in each mission, but a certain amount will be deducted as a price for each use. After all, your mental power is not high. After Li Yangzi finished speaking, he looked at Lily. He seemed a little confused and explained to her. It's like the original owner passed away early in your mission. This time, if you don't have enough mental strength, you may pay the price with your own life. Lily was wary and nodded quickly. Now she was more determined to use up enough mental power first. Be careful on your next mission. Li Yangzi said this meaningfully. He did not ask Lily if she wanted to rest as before. He left this sentence before his figure disappeared. Lily felt a chill in her heart and was about to speak. But soon his consciousness fell into darkness. When she woke up again, she seemed to be lying on something that would shake. Before receiving the plot, she remembered Li Yangzi's inexplicable words before. The two of them had known each other for such a long time, and she knew that Li Yangzi was not a person who spoke freely. Since I said this, it means that this mission may be life-threatening. A lot of plots began to pour into her mind. Lily had a splitting headache at the moment. Before she could open her eyes, suddenly there was a sharp pain in the back of her head. With a bang sound, someone hit her head with a stick, causing her to pass out without even humming. When Behi opened her eyes again, her mind was blank, except for the pitiful memory she received, knowing that the name of this body was Yu Behi, and the vague memory of her father wearing a white uniform. And no more. She must have been knocked unconscious while receiving memories before. Thinking of this, Lily couldn't help but want to scratch the wall with hatred. It happened again and again. It didn't matter that she didn't receive the plot after being forced to sleep in the mental hospital. But at that time, she had at least received all the memories of the original owner. Now this situation that seemed like amnesia made Lily feel very bad, and her face turned ugly now. It was dark all around, and the floor she stepped on seemed to be made of wood, and it didn't seem to be solid, because she clearly felt that her feet were shaking. Lily guessed that she should be on a carriage. His calloused hands immediately grabbed her. "Little master, are you okay?" The voice was hoarse and low. After asking, he coughed twice. "This old slave is useless. I can't save my master now. Two of the people on this ship are mages and one is a swordsman. Young master, please don't reveal your identity." Lily's expression suddenly turned ugly when she heard the word ship. No wonder she felt that she was so dizzy during this mission, and her head felt like a dense needle pricking her head. "In my mind. Old slave, old slave." After the hoarse voice said this, he coughed a few times and seemed to be unable to hold on any longer, and there was no more sound. "Uncle Yu." Lily instinctively called out the name, but the voice did not respond to her. The surroundings were deathly quiet. She couldn't help but stretched out her hand to touch her chest again, and felt a pang in her heart when she felt it was flat. Shocked, he reached into his lower abdomen and touched it again. He was relieved when he found that it was indeed a girl. Because her memory has not been received, she doesn't know how old she is now, nor what kind of world she has come to. She can only explore everything by herself. Her chest is flat and she looks like she is only years old. Her hair is slightly long, almost reaching her waist. It is soft and curly. She is wearing a long-sleeved shirt. The lily material is a bit hard to touch. It should feel like hemp. She wears loose clothes underneath. Trousers. Judging from this outfit, it doesn't look like she has entered an ancient plot. When she was cursing the man who knocked her unconscious in her heart, suddenly a board was lifted above her head, revealing the face of a middle-aged man with a beard and one eye. The face appeared above her head. Because she was used to the darkness, when she saw the light again, Lily closed her eyes involuntarily. "Boss, the mage is dead," the middle-aged man shouted loudly, and his voice was very loud. Then there was a burst of rapid footsteps. Lily felt that there seemed to be some people around her head, and she tried her best to shrink her body into one tuan. A strong and powerful arm that was thicker than her thigh stretched out, twisted up her clothes and lifted her out. "This little thing is not dead yet." "Kill her," someone shouted, and then someone responded, "Throw her out and feed it to the Sea King beast." "Shut up," one of the middle-aged men with long maroon hair shouted. He had a gloomy face and a hooked nose. He looked at Lily up and down. "Child, can you cook?" Lily had no ability to protect herself at the moment, and was deeply afraid that she would be killed. These people looked very bad at first glance. She nodded hurriedly, trying hard to look harmless. "I can cook. There is still a need for a cook on the ship. If you can cook, then stay. If not, we won't leave anyone useless." The middle-aged man looked at Lily up and down, and saw that her face was dirty and her eyes were dirty. It was clear in black and white, and his timid appearance at this moment really made him unable to think of killing him, so he could only wave his hand impatiently. "Let's break up, get ready to head east." "Ho!" Everyone drank in unison and pulled out the machete hanging on their waist. Lily's eyes did not dare to look around at first. When these people left, she began to look around. At first glance, she felt something was wrong. She was surrounded by water, almost endless, and the seaside seemed to be connected to the sky. There seemed to be no end. Compared with the fact that she could not see any scenery except the sea, the ship she was on the boat looked very small. She stayed in this ship. There was no other helper in the galley except her. Compared with the dirty hull outside, the kitchen was fully equipped, but everything looked very new. She endured it. In the panic, someone sent a big fish in the evening. The fish was probably about 3 meters long, already as high as Lily's chest. The strong man who brought the fish dropped the thing, turned around and left without even looking at Lily. Lily's body was still young, and she hadn't practiced martial arts. She didn't know what kind of fish it was. The skin was very thick, but the flesh was tender. She worked hard for a long time before finally cutting off a piece, and she finished cooking it for 10 people. When someone came to pick up the dinner at night, they smelled the aroma in the kitchen and took the meal away. They just ordered Lily to grill all the fish and then left. Life as a chef is not easy, especially since there are nearly 30 big men living on this huge ship. Lily is the only one who is busy in the kitchen every day, so Lily has to rest almost all day in the first 2 days. She couldn't breathe, but she had no choice at the moment. Everyone on the ship looked fierce. If she didn't do anything right, her life would be in danger. Therefore, in addition to obediently helping to make food every day, Lily also began to practice her own after half a month. "Although the internal strength has not made much progress, when I finish my work every day, I am not so tired that I can't even sleep." To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 196. More than half a month later, Lily also figured out what kind of place she was in. She arrived in a place with almost no land and only ocean. The ship she was on was a pirate ship, and all these big men inside these are pirates. From being unaccustomed to seasickness when sailing to being calm and composed at the beginning, Lily was a little anxious, but she didn't know where to start the task. She doesn't know anything about the original owner, nor does she know what her final outcome will be. She can only guess everything by herself, which makes her feel a little desperate about this task. The only person who has a clue is that she came to this body. When she was still alive, she had just been robbed by the pirates on the so-called Black Pearl. This group of pirates should also be one of the people who had a grudge against Lily. But even if she knew this, she didn't know how long it would take to get revenge. Every day Lily spent more time practicing the Nine Yang manual. Fortunately, the people on the pirate ship did not monitor her. Perhaps because she was too young, the pirates did not think she could do it. No matter what kind of storm breaks out, her time is very free. As long as she can prepare food for 3 meals a day, the pirates will no longer notice a little person like her. Life at sea makes Lily nervous every day. The Black Pearl looks quite big, but she has experienced a storm at sea. When the rain started, she could hardly find a place to stay in the vast sea. It was too bad. It was a pity that she didn't dare to ask the pirates if there was any land in this world. It wasn't until 2 months later that she finally saw another person for the first time, and it was a cargo ship. The pirates roared excitedly. The huge skull and crossbones flag fluttered in the wind. It gave people a bit of a gloomy feeling for no reason, and only heard a shout from the other side, which made Lily shocked and a little dumbfounded. A short, thin, middle-aged man in a black robe standing on the bow of the ship actually raised a bone-like object and chanted a few words. Then he transformed into a huge wolf, roared and then headed this way. The Black Pearl ran over. When the wolf stepped on the floor, Lily felt the deck of the ship bounce twice. This situation was beyond her expectation, and her eyes widened instantly. She was speechless looking at the scene in front of her. She originally thought she had come to modern times, but unfortunately she finally found out that she had come to a sea world with almost no land. She originally thought that this world would be dangerous, but as long as she stayed on the Black Pearl for a few years, as long as once her martial arts skills are high, she will no longer be afraid of anyone. But the current situation seems to be a bit weird in this world. Not only can a living person transform into a wolf, but she also saw the so-called captain on the Black Pearl with a wave of his hand. He started chanting, and in addition to his chanting, the sea water quickly began to condense with water spears, and shot towards the big bad wolf. Lily was sure that even if she had mastered the Nine Yang manual to the extreme, if she could escape such a weird spell, she might not be the match of others. No wonder Li Yangzi asked her to be careful in the first place. What kind of world is this? Even if she can't defeat it, forget it, but at least let her understand the cause and effect, right? The Black Pearl was already fighting with the merchant ship on the opposite side. Lily saw that in addition to a group of pirate minions, there were some chanting spells that caused air blades to fly in the air and various fantasy scenes. Lily was dumbfounded. Thunder-like sounds kept ringing in her ears. She didn't know how long the fight lasted, but the Black Pearl finally gained the upper hand. Screams and curses came from the merchant ship, and a group of people appeared on the ship escorted by pirates. The women are chosen, and if the men are old or young, they will be killed directly. The leader of the Black Pearl scolded, and for a while screams and begging sounded, but it was of no use. Some of the sailors used guns, and some used knife, and within a short time there were 7 or 8 corpses lying on the floor. You are brave. Do you know which company we belong to? A girl who looked about 14 or 15 years old stood up. She wore a pink binding vest on her upper body, a puffy skirt on her lower body, and a pair of slender legs. Under her straight legs were boots that were as high as her knees. She had a mouse-colored hair that was similar to Lily's body. She looked very beautiful and cute. The pirates all laughed loudly, and the leader seemed to be amused by her words. He waved his hand, the woman took it and divided it. This girl is sent to my room, someone responded, and someone brought it up in joy. He took out a bucket and washed away the blood left on the floor from the recent murder. The bright red traces poured into the sea. After a while, there was no longer even a trace of blood smell on the deck. Lily listened to the screams of the woman outside and grasped her clothes more tightly without leaving a trace. She had just finished her work in the kitchen and was about to walk towards the room where she usually rested. She had not walked 2 days. He took a step and was suddenly pushed away. Go away, kid. Where did that girl go? A sturdy man looked around, obviously looking for something, there are seas on all sides. If you don't believe she got wings and flew, keep looking. There is a vast sea all around. The pirates are having a party in front of the deck because they have made a good harvest. From time to time, you can hear joyous laughter. The beer filled with beer below the deck is now being carried. When I came out, there was a smell of wine outside, but no one was found. Even the two big men in the kitchen looked for them. After taking a look at the thin Lily, the two men left with the knives in depression. Lily breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. After seeing the dazzling things that these people called magic today, she was a little more desperate for her mission, but she was unwilling to do so. Although Li Yangzi looked slightly better than before, but Lily doesn't dare to think that he will give himself more opportunities after he fails to complete the task. As he said, the attributes he adds after completing the task originally belong to others, so you can see it can be seen that in order to survive, Li Yangzi must pay something. If she can't even complete the task, why should others pay for herself? She could only find out what would happen next if she was more careful than before. She had to survive first. Ever since Lily opened her eyes, the place where she woke up and lived was under the deck where she first opened her eyes. It was just a place of about 4 to 5 square meters that was originally used to store debris. When she lifted up the deck and jumped off, I felt something was different in my room. Who is it? The joyful clapping and whistles of the pirates outside came, but there was silence inside the deck. This was a dangerous place, surrounded by vicious pirates. Although she didn't have any martial arts skills at the moment, but after finding out her true identity, she had already ground a sharp fish bone and put it on her body for self-defense. When Lily heard the noise, she instinctively clenched the fish bone in her arms, and heard a delicate sound. The voice said, "It's me, please help me, please." A girl with brown hair and a somewhat embarrassed expression turned over and sat on her knees on Lily's makeshift bed. She had obviously been hiding under the quilt just now. Now with the faint candlelight in her hand, Lily could see the panic and fear in the girl's eyes. I was arrested, they. It was obvious that she was too frightened. At this moment, she could not even speak clearly, with transparent tears. He just kept flowing, "Please help me. She has a kind of delicate beauty. Her long hair is not like the messy curls that Lily dare not take care of. Instead, it is surprisingly straight." At this moment, the soft colors are reflected in the light. Lily sees her slightly trembling body. His lips pursed tightly. "You can't stay here. It's not safe here. The kitchen has been searched. You can go there." This girl looked very young. Although Lily couldn't protect herself, she recognized that she was the woman the leader just named. One can imagine what it would be like for such a flower-like girl to fall into the hands of that bear-like leader. Lily pointed out a clear path for her. The girl was still a little timid. Where am I hiding? You won't betray me, right?" After she finished speaking, she raised her head, frightened. Under the extreme fear at this moment, her beautiful eyes showed a somewhat fragile beauty. Lily sighed, "I won't tell you, but if you are discovered by yourself, it has nothing to do with me." When the girl heard this, tears suddenly flowed out. She bit her lower lip and her body shivered violently. "I am from the Pang family. My name is Lily. As long as you help me, I will thank you until my family comes to save me. Please help me." The girl who called herself Pang Lily was deeply moved. Bowing in front of Lily, she was like a frightened quail, her silky hair falling down due to her movements, making the girl's waist look astonishingly thin, with a green allure. "I told you, you can go to the kitchen, it's not safe here." Lily only glanced at her body, then turned her head away. She saw the small underwear covering the buttocks under the girl's short skirt. Because she was also a woman, she was not tempted. Seeing the girl just begging and sobbing softly, Lily frowned. "The kitchen has been searched, no one will go there again, and there is no one here yet. I came here, if you stay any longer, I can't guarantee you will be taken away. Hearing this, the girl trembled all over, looked at Lily again with tears in her eyes, and then cried twice, "Where is the kitchen?" Lily sighed, climbed up the ladder, and signaled the girl to follow her. She looked around warily first. The pirates were reveling on the deck outside at the moment. She was sure that no one here would point at the girl. To be honest, she was really reluctant to help this girl when her own family was in danger, but she couldn't bear to watch a flower-like girl being raped by the pirate leader. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 197. For several days in a row, everyone on the ship was looking for the girl. The pirate ship was searched several times every day, but I don't know if these pirates were very confident. They might have thought they had already searched the kitchen, so they searched the kitchen 2 or 3 times in a row. Tiandu was very safe, and no one came to search again. The girl relied on the food that Lily squeezed out for her every day, and she spent a few days safely. 5 or 6 days later, the originally endless sea level suddenly burst into a loud and neat song, with a majestic momentum. The usually arrogant pirates among the pirates now showed fear for the first time. The navy is coming. The huge white ship was originally very far away, but the ship came very quickly. As if in the blink of an eye, Lily could hear the sound of the huge sails on the navy ship being blown by the wind. Coming over, the pirates had no time to react. Marines dressed in white and blue and wearing navy hats jumped onto the pirate ship. The pirates who had been arrogant in the past were now ashen-faced, and almost no one dared to resist. The first young man with the navy captain's logo, his hair neatly combed, and a white cloak held a pipe in his hand, looked around, smiled and said loudly, "Miss Pang Lily, from the Pang family, is she here?" A group of navy locked up the pirates, took something, and tattooed the pirates' faces. The pirates' faces were pale, but no one dared to speak. The leader was locked away without tattooing, while the remaining minions were tattooed. Rushing to the other side, as if being chased away, when she heard the voice of the navy, Pang Lily, who had been hiding in the kitchen, suddenly staggered out and said, "Are you here to save me? She has been eating and drinking these days." Lazarus was in the kitchen. He was no longer as glamorous as when we first met him. He looked very embarrassed now. Her hair is a little messy. When he saw the navy, he couldn't help crying, "You are here. You are finally here. Miss Pang Lily, I belong to the team leader Mong under the command of His Majesty the King of Haikong Lane. I was entrusted by Miss Pang's father. Now I have finally found Miss Pang." The young man holding the pipe smiled slightly and wore his white cloak was blown by the wind, and his white uniform stretched his figure extremely long. He was used to seeing pirates who often had their upper bodies bare and only wore trousers. Now Len might as well see a navy man. He is really handsome. Thank you Captain Moan for your rescue. 8 days ago, I was attacked by the Black Pearl pirate ship. Now, thanks to Captain, I am truly safe. Pang Lily wiped her tears and couldn't help but want to cry again. The man who called himself Moan, the young man, smiled slightly and his eyes fell on Lily. Although his eyes were calm when he looked at people, they gave people a great sense of shock. Lily couldn't help but shrink when he looked at her. Only then did he see his brows wrinkled. Is this Miss Pang's attendant? Oh, no, he is also one of the members on the pirate ship. But thanks to him for helping me these days. Pang Lily shook her head without hesitation, with an apologetic smile on her face, and turned to Lily and said, "Thank you for your help. I hope to see you again in the future." When Lily heard this, a bad premonition came into her heart. She had helped Pang Lily once anyway, but now she said that she was a pirate. Now Lily wanted to scold her. She just wanted to explain. "I'm sorry, I'm not a pirate. I was also robbed by the Black Pearl. Na Moan smiled at Lily, showing his white teeth, and then waved his hand decisively, take the tattoo with you. Although the body is a little thinner, we can sell it together when the time comes. The two Marines responded, stepped forward and picked up Lily like a chicken, and carried her towards the pirates who had just been tattooed. When Lily heard Pang Lily say that she had helped her, the pirates looked at her with something wrong. After all, the pirates were still looking for Pang Lily a few days ago, not to mention that the Black Pearl Pirates group was wiped out now. It seems to be related to Pang Lily. Now that she had saved her, the pirates who fell into the hands of the Navy would inevitably think that Lily was the one who caused them to fall into this situation. Now she had to be tattooed and even sold. She panicked and gave Pang Lily a hateful look. I also knew that if she was really locked up with this group of vicious pirates, with everyone resenting her, she would definitely not get a good ending. She was angry in her heart. If she was not sold into slavery by the Navy, she would be more likely to be in the Navy. She was bullied to death by a group of pirates on the ship, so she might as well find another way out now. I'm really not a pirate. I was also captured by the Black Pearl. Only because I can cook, these pirates kept me. Lily struggled twice, but Moan did not. After hearing what she said, Pang Lily smiled apologetically at Lily. I'm sorry, I didn't know this. I thought you were also on the pirate ship. After all, I saw you were preparing food for them. It's okay that she didn't say this. When she talked about these things, the Navy looked at Lily even more wrongly. Moan frowned impatiently. He had a slender sword on his thin waist. It looked like he was about to pull out at this moment. Lily's face was covered with blood by Pang Lily's words, and she decided that she would never be a good person again. She suddenly used the 9-yang magic to kill the two Navy guards guarding her. She was pushed away and stumbled to the side of the ship. The remaining internal strength she had just been used up when she pushed the two Marines away. A Navy man couldn't help but glance at her with interest, and his eyes swept over the two Navy men coldly. Trash, he pulled out his slender sword, obviously preparing to kill Lily on the pirate ship. There was no way to avoid it. The group of extremely vicious pirates already hated Lily to the bone, and he couldn't stay with them. Instead of ending up like this, it would be a tragic ending. It would be better to jump into the sea now. There is a possibility of encountering other ships and being rescued. If not, the most is to die in the sea, which is better than falling into the hands of pirates. Lily's face turned pale at this moment. She really didn't know if Li Yangzi would help her again if she failed in this mission. At this moment, she cursed Pang Lily to death in her heart, but she saw the killing intent in Moan's eyes. With tears streaming down his face, he jumped into the sea without even thinking about it. Hey, why did you jump into the sea? When the seawater poured into Lily's body from all directions, she tasted a bitter taste in her mouth. The boat was 20 feet high from the sea. Under the impact, Lily finally hearing the exclamation from Pang Lily, his chest couldn't hold his breath and he fainted. It doesn't matter, he's just a little thief. There's no way he can survive. Let's go. Moan loosened his hand on the handle of his sword. A small person is really not worth his effort. This seemingly calm sea is actually full of dangers. There is a ferocious Poseidon beast inside. When the time comes, a person who is too weak for him to even be sold as a slave will no longer be able to survive. This trip has found the eldest daughter of the Pang family. This is the most important thing. The Pang family can donate a huge amount of money to the Navy. Maybe even if his strength does not reach the level of a great swordsman, it may be enough to promote him to a lieutenant. Lily originally thought she would not wake up. As the Black Pearl drifted on the sea for a long time, she rarely saw other ships. Although she thought that someone passing by might save her, that kind of extravagant hope, the chance was really low, and she knew that it was completely impossible for such a thing to happen, so when she opened her eyes, she saw the stars in the sea and sky, and blinked in confusion for a moment, thinking that she had returned to the starry sky. Generally, the sound of waves came from all around, which seemed different from the silence in the starry sky. Her body swayed, and the ground was not stable. The gentle ripples of the sea rang in her ears. She seemed to still feel that she was very far away from the sea. Clothes, because the clothes on her body were still wet. "You're awake," an indifferent male voice rang. Lily was startled and hurriedly wanted to sit up. She turned around and saw that she was on a small boat that could hold about 4 or 5 people. The place where she lay just at the stern of the ship was now very wet. A very tall figure was sitting there at the sail of the bow, with his dark and smooth hair being blown by the sea breeze. The black cloak also made a whirring sound. He carried a long sword on his back. He had not turned his head when he asked, as if his figure had merged with the night. "Thank you for saving me." Lily was stunned at first, and then became ecstatic. She was sure that she had been saved by someone now. Thinking that she was not dead yet, she couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. The fact that she didn't die meant that her mission this time had not failed. But thinking of what happened after she jumped into the sea, Lily scolded Pang Lily again in her heart, and planned to wait until she had the strength to settle the score with that woman. "I have seen people repay kindness with hatred, but I have never seen anyone who repay kindness with hatred as a matter of course and with an innocent look like her." She was not the type to swallow her anger and pretend to be generous when being bullied. Her job was to vent anger for others. There was no reason for her to swallow her anger instead. The tall figure who was sitting turned his head. With a pair of slender eyebrows flying into the temples and a head of smooth black hair, his face was extremely white and clean, and his skin seemed to be like fine ivory, standing in the sea. It exudes soft luster under the starry sky. He has a pair of black eyes that are different from most people in this world. The eyes are somewhat narrow and long, and the color at the end of the eyes is extremely dark, which makes those eyes eye-catching. A bit of fierceness was revealed inadvertently as the eyes moved. Under the tall, slightly hawk-like nose, there were light-colored and extremely thin lips. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 198. This is a strange and handsome man who almost makes people hold their breath for a moment. He is about 25 or 6 years old. He is wearing a complicated and exquisite shirt with gorgeous lace at the collar. The shirt has a deep V-neck, which is directly it was opened from the collar to the abdomen, and was finally tucked into the tight trousers. The looming strong chest carried the beauty of strength in the breath, and the clearly defined and vaguely visible lower abdomen was revealed from the translucent gray shirt. Adds a bit more temptation. Lily couldn't help but swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and forgot to speak for a moment. "I rescued you from the sea. Wherever you are, I will send you there." The handsome man wrapped in a black cloak stood up, his dark hair fluttering in the sea breeze as he spoke. His eyes were cold and devoid of any warmth. In this already very cold night, the temperature even dropped a bit. When he stood up, Lily realized that this young man was extremely tall, probably about 1.9 meters tall. He had a long, thin, and powerful figure, which gave people the illusion that he was a few points taller than his actual height. He was not. Lily had seen exaggerated muscle tangles like pirates before, but Lily could feel that the man in front of her was very dangerous. The danger he gave Lily was much deeper than the captain named Moan she saw today. Under his restrained and unassuming yet still scary aura, Lily opened her mouth with difficulty, unable to speak. "Don't you know? That's nerve-wracking." He frowned and squatted down in front of Lily, staring at Lily with his slender eyes. There were very faint smile lines at the corners of his mouth. This subtle smile made his originally cold expression a little warmer. When Lily saw his move, a strange feeling of familiarity flashed through her mind, as if she had seen it somewhere before. She frowned slightly and swallowed nervously. "I really don't know." She came to this world without receiving a mission, and without receiving the plot. she was interrupted by those damn pirates. Apart from knowing that her body was called Ubehi, she had no other memory. Naturally, she didn't know which way to go. Thinking of these situations, Lily lit a candle in her heart and looked a little confused for a moment. Since you don't know, think about it carefully. The handsome man sat down in front of Lily. The small boat shook twice because of his actions. Lily's face was pale and she clung to the edge of the boat, deeply afraid. A moment of instability and he was thrown into this vast sea. The last time she dared to jump into the sea, she was forced to do nothing. If there was even a glimmer of hope, she would definitely not jump. If she fell into the sea again this time, she couldn't guarantee that the man in front of her would save her again. Therefore, even Yes Yaojo in the sea was treated as a life-saving straw and she clung to it tightly. Thank you for saving me. If I need my place in the future, I will repay you. Lily is not an ungrateful white-eyed wolf like Pang Lily. She will not repay kindness to others, so even though she was dizzy by the shaking of the boat, even though her heart was tumbling due to the shaking of the boat, she still said this sentence with a pale face and difficulty. No problem. The handsome man raised the corners of his mouth, and the lines of his handsome and dangerously mysterious face were softened. In this case, you will stay on the boat temporarily. I have been asleep for a long time. When I'm hungry, I'll find a food. Can you cook it? The man tilted his head, and suddenly seemed to remember something, and hesitated. So, although the name is just a code name, my name is Li Yan, Yanjiu. Generally, kindness is not expected to be repaid. Lily did not expect that she had just left her position as a cook on the Black Pearl pirate ship, and now she was cooking for others. She should have just been fished out of the sea, and her body was when she was weak. She had just said that she would repay others well, and the words were still ringing in her ears. If she regretted it now, she would be afraid that the man who claimed to be named Li Yangzia would throw her into the sea again, so she reciprocated and said her name. And agreed again depressedly, I can cook. Li Yangzia's face showed a relaxed look, and his slender eyes seemed to show a bit of joy. Then let's fish first. There are really a lot of fish in the sea, especially when the sky is clear. After the sun comes out, under the icy blue water, sometimes when Lily lies beside the Black Pearl pirate ship and looks under the water, she can see a large number of beautiful fish following her. The scene beside the pirate ship, but that was after dawn. The sea is dark at night, and the starlight is reflected on the sea, as if it has coated the sea with a beautiful layer of silver light. It is beautiful but makes the sea water bottomless, as if it is like a dormant giant beast. Where can it be seen again? Can you see the fish? Mr. Lee, we can't see or catch fish at night, not to mention we don't have the tools to lift the fish. Why don't we wait until we can see it during the day tomorrow? Lily showed a smile and looked around the boat. Except for 2 places to sit, there is nothing else. At a glance, there is no fishing gear. Of course, there is no place to hide fishing tools, and there are no pots, pans, etc. Even if no matter how good the craftsmanship is, it is difficult for a clever woman to make porridge without rice. She has to wait until she can find a place where she can buy something. Unfortunately, this boat looks too small to be able to hold so many things. Yes, Li Yangziu's cold words rang out, and his eyes fell on Lily. A bad premonition came to Lily's heart. She was about to speak, but she felt herself being pulled up by Li Yangziu. Only the slender and slightly calloused palms were grasped on her slender arms. It looked like the big white fingers had distinct knuckles and were very slender. Lily was stunned, but she was not admiring them at all at this moment. When the beautiful man took his hand, she swallowed her saliva and stared at Li Yangziu. Mr. Li, what do you want to do? As soon as she finished speaking, she felt herself being thrown up. A strong wind blew past her ears, causing her soft long curly hair to flutter in the wind. It was not as beautiful as when Li Yangziu's hair was flying. Her long hair fell all over her face. She opened her mouth and took a lot of food into her mouth. With a soft thud sound, she suddenly fell into the sea water. Lily herself couldn't swim, so she almost screamed. The lower half of her body was soaked in the sea water, which was cold to the bone. A large amount of sea water splashed around her. Her clothes that were half dry were now wet again. Her hair was stuck to her face by the splashed sea water. The feeling of not being able to step on the bottom made her panic. Just when she was about to struggle, she heard a pleasant voice. The male voice said, "SHH, I heard the fish coming. She's not bait, bastard." Lily opened her eyes, and that handsome face was not far from her. Li Yangzhou was squatting beside the boat, and his slender hand was still holding her cold hand. At this moment, the boat was moving with the wind, and the lower half of her body was also in the sea water. She swam very fast, with the whole body's support in Li Yangzhou's hands. This rapid speed made Lily afraid that Li Yangzhou would lose control and fall into the vast sea, so she held him tightly with both hands. Lily wanted to cry. For people who had never swum before, getting into a swimming pool would be scary. What's more, she was still in the sea. There was not even a small island around the endless sea. The only thing in front of her was it's just a small boat, and a man who behaves very unreliably and looks eccentric. She grabbed Li Yangzhou's palm tightly with her backhand. She was so cold that her legs had lost all feeling. Suddenly, Lily felt that the originally calm sea water suddenly seemed to be rippled, and it looked like there was something huge. Something is coming. Is there going to be a storm? Her face was as pale as moonlight, with a bit of confusion in her expression. Li Yangzhou lowered his head and glanced at her, without answering her words. Then he just put some pressure on his hand, and Lily fell out of the sea. He was pulled up and flew into the air before being knocked down onto the boat with a bang sound. The hull shook violently, and the water droplets splashed by her were about to fall on Li Yangzhou, but they seemed to be blocked by an invisible force. The feeling that a storm was coming became more and more obvious. The sea water began to gradually turn into waves, and the ship's hull kept shaking. It had been several days since Lily came to this world. She had never seen anything like this before, and she was a little confused. When I was about to panic, I saw something suddenly creating a huge whirlpool in the sea water. The boat rocked more violently, and there was a sound of water, and a cry of wild beasts, and a cry of arrogant. As if with an uncomfortable dull feeling, Lily's chest felt tight, and a fishy sweetness surged in her throat. The boat couldn't help shaking, and there was water beside the boat that wanted to spill in, but strangely it was all blocked out. Lily saw a huge figure jumping up from the sea water. This monster looked similar to a water snake, but it was larger than the previous black pearl. When it jumped up, it almost blocked the moonlight above its head, and its mouth opened. All the seawater around it was sucked into its belly. And it barked again. Lily thought about the scene when Li Yangzhou was about to fish just now, and her teeth began to collide up and down. Logically speaking, after doing so many missions, she has seen all the gods and monsters, so she shouldn't be useless like this, but this is the first time she has seen such a monster, which is really shocking, even though she has become the Dragon King. When she transformed into a dragon, she might not be much smaller than the monster in front of her, but then the monster was herself, and now when the monster could eat her at any time, Lily really couldn't calm down. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 199. Lily turned back and glanced at the sail of the boat, tears streaming down her face. Can we still run away? There was no way she could run away. This monster moved extremely fast and could run faster than a big boat in the sea. Although the boat was light, its sail was also small. She might not die in the sea, but she might die under the monster's mouth. When the monster's green eyes saw Lily, human hesitation flashed in his eyes. He turned around and stared at Li Yangzhou again. After looking at it for a long time, he fell back into the sea with a thud, turned around and swam away quickly. This thing was obviously out to hunt, and now it actually looked like it was running for its life. Lily was dumbfounded, but she saw Li Yangzio's body flashed, and he was no longer on the boat. When he appeared again, he had already seen him fall quickly onto the back of the monster that was desperately trying to swim away. The long sword on his back was pulled out by him at some point. After a scream, the long sword gently clicked. Crossing the sea level, Lily hadn't seen his move yet. When he appeared again, he had a large piece of something that looked like a tail on the tip of his sword and landed back on the boat. There was a crisp sound of bang, and the boat let out an overwhelming scream. The hull shook even more fiercely. Lily heard the scream from the monster, and a bright red color appeared in the sea water. But it quickly disappeared again. Lily could vaguely see the huge monster snake that was so menacing just now dragging half of its body away. Do this, Li Yangzio took out the handkerchief from his arms and wiped his face. There was such a big wind and wave just now, but almost no sea water was splashed in on the boat. This situation was really weird. Lily looked at him one glance. Then he looked at the small piece of tail that was almost as tall as his own body. The tip of the tail was still trembling slightly at this moment. It made a slight sound as it hit the ship's deck. Seeing that Lily didn't move, he frowned and took out another dagger from his waist. Use this. Lily took a deep breath, trembled her hands twice, and responded. She had actually handled a lot of fish, and it seemed a bit strange to say that this strange snake was a fish. She tried hard to peel off a piece of fish meat first, but she didn't know what species this strange snake was. The skin was almost invulnerable, and she could only start with the fish meat. The meat was extremely crystal clear, and it was very easy to insert the dagger. There was no seasoning on the boat, so she had to cut the fish meat thinly, put her hand out of the boat, washed it, and cut into a piece. Passed it to Li Yangzio. Although there is no seasoning, it's not bad. Li Yangzio frowned, as if he wasn't the one who just cut off a piece of the strange snake's tail. The silky hair hung behind him, adding a bit of lazy temperament to him. Silently, he cut off the fish meat and handed it to Li Yangzio's hand. The time passed quickly for the two of them to cooperate slowly like this. It was best for Lily to eat 2 slices. To be honest, the meat slices tasted pretty good. Although it was a bit fishy because it was raw, the meat was delicious and tender. It still tastes good without salt, with a fresh ocean smell. But when Lily thought that this thing might be a sea snake, she lost her appetite. She only ate some and couldn't eat any more. Li Yangzio kicked the leftovers after entering the sea. He lay down on the boat and closed his eyes to rest. Afraid that the boat would be unsafe, Lily hugged her legs and sat in the corner, looking around vigilantly, fearing that monsters like that just appeared again, and fearing that the sea would be unstable at night and cause big waves. She stayed like this until she opened her eyes. When the sun gradually emerged from the east and its fiery red light illuminated the entire sea level, Lily breathed a sigh of relief. It was dawn, and the early morning sunlight was refracted on the sea. The sun seemed to rise from beside her. The scenery looked extremely shocking. Lily looked at it for a long time, then turned around and saw that Li Yangzio had opened his eyes at some point, and his eyes were slender. The fox-like eyes were coated with a layer of pale gold by the sun's rays, and the face that was already very handsome when viewed at night was even more terrifying to look at dawn. Neither of them spoke. Lily thought about how this dangerous man almost used her for fishing yesterday, and she subconsciously decided to stay away from him. As long as she reached the shore, she would never have any contact with him again. After all, he was so kind. Needless to say, in this world where magicians and swordsmen are flying all over the world, it is obvious that her skills are no longer enough. Unless she practices spells, she will not be able to meet the requirements for practicing spells in the short human lifespan. I am afraid that I may not be able to achieve anything famous until my death. This mission is very difficult. In addition to not knowing the plot, what makes Lily sigh the most is that the dangers are much beyond her imagination. There are the Navy and pirates, and she doesn't want to encounter any of them. Somehow, she has an instinctive dislike for the Navy. I don't know if it's her own emotion, because she was almost killed by the squad leader named Moan yesterday. Maybe it was the reason for the loss, or the original owner's original mood. Thinking of these complicated things, Lily couldn't help but let out a long sigh. The morning at the sea is so beautiful, what's there to sigh about? Li Yangzio's cold voice sounded, and the tone of his voice gave Lily a strange sense of familiarity, but she had never seen such a handsome man before. This sense of familiarity should not be from the original owner, but she felt that she should know this Li Yangzio, but how could she possibly know anyone in the world where she was doing tasks? She shook her head and suppressed the strange feeling in her heart. Thinking of what happened to her yesterday, she couldn't help but feel worried. Li, sir, have you ever seen the Navy? Li Yangzio glanced at her, his expression a little dark and incomprehensible. I've seen it before. Lily thought about the momentum of the Navy yesterday, and felt a little worried. She was afraid that Moan would not catch her and would catch her in some seaports and other places. This weird world did not look like an ancient setting, but also had some modern communication civilizations. She was afraid that her appearance yesterday would be photographed, and then she would be sent to various places. Although she was not sure whether there would be a seaport yet, Lily always liked to think of the way out before doing anything. Although this Li Yangzio was a bit weird, but if it was the alternative of being arrested, having her face tattooed, and being sold as a slave, she would rather stay with this eccentric person. Well, have you ever seen a pirate? Lily thought for a while, but was still ready to tell what happened yesterday. Lily was still a little nervous about trying to find out information from such a moody-looking person. She licked her dry lips. There was no fresh water on this ship, and she hadn't drank any water since yesterday. But fortunately, she didn't have the embarrassment of wanting to go to the toilet. Pirate, a faint smile appeared on the corner of Li Yangzio's mouth. His long black hair was spread all over the small boat. He turned to look at Lily, as if the sun that had just emerged from the sky was lost in front of his handsome face. Liao Guanke, in the eyes of others, I should be considered one now. What Lily wanted to say stuck in her mouth. She laughed twice and glanced at Li Yangzio in disbelief, with a bitter taste in her mouth. Are you a pirate too? Has no one told you that in this world, except for the Navy and a small number of island villagers, most people are pirates? There was a hint of meaning in Li Yangzio's words, but Lily was shocked. She now felt as if she had just stepped out of a wolf's den and into a tiger's den. She coughed twice and wanted to clear her throat and say something, but after coughing lightly, she couldn't say a word. The boat is about to break down, it's really troublesome. Li Yangzio saw Lily's face turning blue and white and was speechless. His eyelids drooped, and his thick and long eyelashes cast a thick shadow under his eyes. The sound of the boat followed his words. There were 2 clicks. The boat was actually somewhat damaged after he threw a severed snake tail onto the bed yesterday. Lily felt the boat shake a little, and her face turned pale. She didn't care that Li Yangzio was a pirate at this moment. And subconsciously said, what should we do? See if you can support it to the next island. If not. When Li Yangzio said this, Chief Lily smiled slightly. You can only pray that you will encounter a group of pirates at sea. What if we meet pirates? Lily's face was pale, her teeth were chattering, and a bad feeling came into her heart. Li Yan said calmly and confidently, if we meet pirates, we will have a ship, got it? He was planning to take advantage of others. Lily thought of the scenes she had seen of the mages on the Black Pearl reciting incantations and using spells. She shook her head numbly. As soon as the thought of hoping not to encounter pirates came to her mind, Li Yangzio suddenly became confused. Said, it won't work if I don't meet pirates. I don't have any gold coins on me. This ship is my only property. When Lily heard this, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Yesterday, she felt that this small boat was not very reliable, but now that this small boat has become her only place to stay, she naturally felt this way without any choice. The feeling of the boat is different. She suppressed the annoyance that surged up in her heart and gritted her teeth. In that case, why did Mr. Lee hang such a big fish yesterday? If it weren't for that strange snake's tail, this ship wouldn't have been destroyed immediately. I've never eaten it before. After Li Yangzhou said this, he turned his head away. Lily looked at his back, gritted her teeth and was speechless. I don't know whether they were lucky or unlucky. They were floating on such a large sea for 2 days without seeing a trace of a pirate. However, the ship was getting worse and worse. Fortunately, the weather was sunny these 2 days and no tsunami or disaster occurred. It was raining, so the boat was still holding on strong, but after the afternoon of the 3rd day, the weather became gloomy. The wind blew so hard that the sails were swollen, and the boat was flying on the sea like an arrow. After coming to this strange world and not seeing an island for so long, Lily was already a little desperate, but at this moment, a black spot appeared in front of the two of them in the distance. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan Erwr. Chapter 200. It's a ship. There was a hint of excitement in Lily's voice, and Li Yangzhou glanced at her without any trace. Didn't you want to run into a pirate ship 2 days ago? How the situation was the same then. At that time, they had not fallen into such a miserable situation. Staying in this broken ship in the storm was just asking for death. Instead of dying in the sea without knowing anything, it would be better to find a pirate ship and climb aboard. Lily took the initiative to change the direction of the sail. The ship was getting closer and closer, and the two of them could see the ferocious faces of the pirates on the ship clearly. The pirates stared at the two of them as if they were fools, and held several handfuls of gunpowder. The gun was already pointed at the two of them, and Lily decisively hid behind Li Yangzhou. Either die or get out. When Li Yangzhou faced the pirates, his expression became colder. His tall figure blocked the figures behind him. When a group of pirates heard what he said, they couldn't help but roar. Laughing, Li Yangzhou climbed onto the ship like lightning. After a crackling sound, the pirates on the ship fired randomly, and finally screamed, "We are willing to get out." As soon as he finished speaking, like dumplings, all the pirates on the ship jumped out of the sea one by one, and headed upstream towards Lily. Li Yangzhou stood in front of the tall pirate ship, threw a rope down, and signaled Lily to tie up her waist. He just stretched out his hand and shook it slightly, and the rope flew up with the tied Lily, and fell to the deck with a thud. This is the second time he has done this. Lily fell face down, feeling a sharp pain in her nose, and a warm liquid flowed out of her nose. She sat up with difficulty and stretched out her hand to wipe her nose. It was no surprise to see that his hands were covered in blood. A group of about 10 pirates below were crowded on Li Yangzhou's original broken ship. He watched with hatred as his boat was robbed and sailed away. This new ship has both rice and oil. There was actually water. Lily got into the kitchen first and had a look. She couldn't help but almost shed tears. Most importantly, there was a toilet here. She endured it on the small boat for several days, not daring to eat or drink. Although she was still a little shocked by Li Yangzhou's violent method of robbing the pirate ship, she saw that it was not as big as the Black Pearl. But the fully equipped pirate ship made Lily feel a little bit bitter. There are also a large number of bacon pieces and a small basket of fresh fruits stored in the cabin. People on the voyage are prone to vitamin deficiency, so these fruits are must-haves. Lily has never been so happy. While preparing dinner, a storm came at night. The pirate ship rolled in the waves of the sea all night, but it was still safe and sound. The weather cleared up the next day. A small island appeared in the distance. When Lily came to this world, it was the first time she saw a small island city. She felt a little scared and a little nervous. He was afraid that he would be discovered after landing on the shore and be captured again in the slave camp. Li Yangzhou couldn't help laughing when he found out about her goo filter. You are a little person, you are not worthy of the Navy to catch you. Although Lily was a little shocked by the sentence, she was also relieved. There were not many things on the ship. Fortunately, the pirates had probably robbed things before and left some belongings behind. Lily was about to get off the ship to buy some things. Unexpectedly, she was stared at by some people as soon as she got off the ship. Someone took out a piece of paper and seemed to be comparing it with something. Lily felt the strange eyes of the people around her and subconsciously glanced at the gorgeously dressed man next to her. He insisted on getting off the boat because of the complicated and gorgeous shirt on his body. The past few days of wandering at sea seemed a bit degrading, so he wanted to buy 2 more pieces. Lily was looked at like this and moved closer to Li Yangzhou. Are they looking at me? She originally believed that no one would catch her. After all, she was just a nobody, but now Lily couldn't believe it. Logically speaking, no, the families of many residents on the island are pirates. Except for some small pirate groups who do evil and will be strangled by the Navy, some villagers will not reject pirates. Of course, the pirates Li Yangzhou was referring to were not rejected. He is the kind of person who has no ability but only knows how to bully ordinary people. After Lily came to this world, he got to know Li Yangzhou for some time. He has a cold personality, but he always answers Lily's questions, as if he is taking the opportunity to teach her something. There is some common sense in this world, which sometimes gives Lily a very strange feeling. Hearing Li Yangzhou's words, Lily nodded. Before she could relax, someone came up with a photo and asked, "Excuse me, do you know Miss Pang Lily?" Hearing this woman's name, Lily had a bad premonition in her heart. She made a cold face and shook her head. "I don't know her." Miss Pang Lily offered 2,000 gold coins to find the pirate from the Black Pearl Pirates who helped her save her life. "It's obviously you." The person who came forward to speak was angry when he heard Lily's obvious lie. He took out the photo, pointed to the photo above that was obviously taken by Lily at some point, and said, "I'm going to take you to Pang's house." Lily now wants to slap Pang Lily, a stupid woman, to death. She has obviously escaped, but this woman has made such a big fight because she just wants to force herself to die. If she had known better, she would not have been a good person and let her be ruined by that leader. "You got the wrong person." "Wow, Miss Pang's benefactor is not dead. You can get 500 gold coins for reporting the news." Someone in the crowd shouted. Lily gritted her teeth. Li Yangzhou casually grabbed a strange-looking person on the side of the road and took Lily with him. Running towards the ship, a group of people caught up behind her and tried to shout for Lily to stay. "Miss Pang," Lily said, "she won't blame you for being a member of the pirate group. She will buy you from the Navy. Don't run away." When Lily heard this, she ran faster. Back on the boat, Lily quickly raised the sail. Fortunately, she didn't put down the anchor just now because the two of them didn't plan to stay in this harbor for too long. Now, as soon as the sail was raised, she retracted the iron rope tied to the shore, and the ship sailed away. It moved slowly. "Damn Pang Lily." Lily cursed the person who made her uneasy, and secretly decided in her heart that she would not let her go the next time she saw that woman. Where are you taking me?" The confused person who was caught on the boat raised his head now. She was a very beautiful girl, but she was too tall and had long, maroon hair. The appearance hidden by the hair is a bit stunning at first glance. Li Yangzhou glanced at him, frowned slightly and said nothing. When Lily saw the pirate ship that had started sailing, she felt a little guilty and grabbed passerby on the ship. She saw the girl's fearful and uneasy expression and her tall and slender figure who was trembling. "Body, She squatted over. Where did you come from? Do you know what kind of person Pang Lily is? What are the islands here and what pirates are there among them? Tell me all about it. In addition, Pang Lily is looking for help. Now that we have told everything about our benefactor, why can we get 500 gold coins for reporting the news about our benefactor? If we know that the members of the Black Pearl Pirates are still alive, what kind of action will the Navy take? Lily asked a lot of questions in one breath. Seeing that the poor man had shrunk into a ball, as if he was too scared to speak, he threatened again, "We are pirates. See, no, if you dare not say it, I will throw you into the sea." The girl was so frightened that tears appeared in her eyes. She looked weak and slender and unlovable. She glanced at Lily with a trembling look and said aggrievedly, "Who doesn't know Miss Pang Lily? The Pang family is a well-known large merchant in the nearby islands. Among them, they sell." "I don't want to listen to this nonsense. The key is what kind of person Pang Lily is. Does she have any weaknesses? What does she care about? Tell me what to do to deal with the Pang family," Lily interrupted the girl impatiently. The girl had a confused look on her face when she pressed her. After a long time, the poor pretty girl was already dizzy, and Lily finally stood up with satisfaction. She finally got some general information about this world from the girl. It can be said that this world is a huge ocean world composed of islands forming a cross. The cross-shaped islands divide this water world into 4 parts, and the Pang family is the largest merchant house in the world of Cross. One is somewhat similar to an animation Lily had seen in her previous life. It is composed of 4 types of people. One is the pirates, the other is the opposing navy, the third is ordinary people, and the fourth is a mercenary organization that is independent of the navy and pirates and has some strength but is not a pirate. In this world, mages and swordsmen are 2 different professions. Mages are divided into physics and nature. The spell that Lily has seen to turn into a wolf is one of the physics, and using sea water to attack is another. Natural type. As for the swordsman, he should be about the same as Li Yangziu. Whether it is a mage or a swordsman, there are many types of natural strength. The former leader of the Black Pearl Pirates should be the worst natural type mage. But because there are so few mages, even the lowest level mages are enough to form a team. The Black Pearl Pirates were previously the most notorious pirate group in the sea area. After inquiring about the basic things, and then asking the beautiful girl some other things, most of the day passed like this. Lily thought of the man named Yubo who died on the Black Pearl pirate ship when she first arrived. In the few conversations she had with him, he should be a mage. To have such a slave, the original owner must have a pretty good background. She frowned and thought for a long time, but couldn't think of a reason, so she had to give up. It's a pity that Yubo's body was thrown into the sea by the pirates at that time. Otherwise, if we could take pictures and inquire later, we might be able to find out who the original owner was. At this moment, it seems that we can only take one step at a time. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 201. After dropping the timid girl down at the next port, Lily glanced at Li Yangziu in confusion. What should we do now? Her martial arts had no effect in this world. The Pang family was very powerful, so it was not easy to vent her anger in this world. What's more, she had no idea what the memory of the original owner was or what his wishes were. Even if Lily has a calm personality, she can't help but feel a little helpless at this moment. What do you want to do? Li Yangziu was sitting on the bow of the boat. He was now missing the black cloak and was only wearing a silver-gray translucent silk shirt. He was sitting leisurely on the bow with a pair of slender legs. Very eye-catching. His voice was low and soft, with a hint of temptation, and Lily subconsciously said, I want to vent my anger, but I don't know who to turn to. You said you were robbed by a pirate group when I rescued you, right? Li Yangziu suddenly changed the subject and asked Lily. He came here just to wait for this day. At this moment, he heard Lily finally speak. When asked, a vague smile appeared on his usually expressionless face. If the pirates harmed you, you can seek revenge from the pirates, but if you don't hate the pirates and don't like others, you can also think about what you hate most. Speaking of what she hates most, what Lily hates most is that Pang Lily cheated her, and she hates Pang Lily. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but move in her heart. She remembered that after she came to this world, she was first kidnapped by the Black Pearl pirates. If there were no accidents, the original owner should be the same in the plot. If the same original owner was kidnapped by the Black Pearl pirates, if she didn't die either, then she would be like him. It is possible to meet Pang Lily. If you meet Pang Lily, even someone who could be said to have an indifferent temperament like herself would save her. A little girl like the original owner who lived in a pirate's den would definitely save her. The result of saving her would be revenge by Pang Lilian, whether she did it unintentionally or not. Whether it was intentional or not, the original owner would definitely hate her. In this way, I was tricked by Pang Lily once. The original owner must be similar, but because the original owner didn't jump into the sea and be rescued like herself, then her fate would be the same as those on the pirate ship, being tattooed and sold as a slave. And it is conceivable that the people on the Black Pearl pirate ship will hate her to the core for those words that Pang Lily shouted. During the period of time they were imprisoned together, the life of the original owner must have been extremely difficult. If she could afford the name Yubo slave, and Yubo is also a mage. In this world, mages are more respected than swordsmen. The identity of the original owner must be unusual, and if the girl with an unusual identity was robbed by pirates. And she was definitely not willing to be sold as a slave in the end. Could it be Pang Lily? Lily couldn't help but ask. As soon as she said the words, she knew that what she had just subconsciously said had almost leaked the truth. She was really surprised because she thought of the clues to the mission, so she instinctively said it out loud. Shi Shen was afraid that Li Yangzhou would be suspicious, so he hurriedly turned his head to look, but saw that he didn't seem to hear him at all, and he felt relieved. If it's Pang Lily who offended you, take revenge on her. If you hate someone else, then of course there will be a guilty party and a debtor. Li Yangzhou showed a look of relief on his face, and his long satin-like hair was pulled up. The trousers outline his lean and powerful figure, the shirt is tucked into the belt, and the waist is clearly exposed. The way his hair flutters in the sea breeze is really eye-catching. I won't let go of Pang Lily, the Black Pearl pirates, and the Navy. Lily's mind changed. At this moment, she just hoped that the original owner wouldn't hate Pang Lily so much. If she hated Pang Lily and the Pang family, forget it, Black Pearl the pirate group has been captured. If she hates the Navy again, she will definitely not be able to compete with such a behemoth. For now, she can only find trouble with the Pang family first. But she also found out about the Pang family. There were 3 people in the family who could be called intermediate magicians, and there were countless other swordsmen. She was definitely no match for these people, so she had to put Pang Lily down first. In her heart, no matter whether the 9-Yang manual is useful here, at least she will never have too many things to save her life. The 2 of them drifted on the sea. Lily spent most of her time practicing martial arts. Sometimes if she encountered a pirate who wanted to rob their boat, Li Yangzhou would take action and rob him instead. Relying on the money donated by these pirates, the 2 of them wandered on the sea, occasionally returning to the shore to replenish some food. In this way, 5 years passed in a flash. Lily has now practiced the 9-Yang manual to the extreme. After her force value is higher than before, she has practiced the 9-Yang manual for more than 5 years, which is enough to offset the previous 7 or 8 years of hard training. Although she does not dare to compete with those compared with the mysterious power summoned by the mages, if compared with ordinary pirates, it is even worse. Li Yangzhou started teaching her some swordsmanship half a year ago. Although it was just the most basic swordsmanship and what people in this world refer to as sword intent, When paired with the 9 Yang manual, the effect was amazing. The sword was swung out with varying effects. Lily sometimes couldn't understand Li Yangziu. He appeared weird and stayed by her side. His strength was unpredictable. When Lily saw him for the first time, she felt she couldn't touch him. At the end of the day, now that he has practiced the Juyang Zhenjing to this point, and has been taught swordsmanship by him, he feels even more profound about not being able to grasp Li Yangziu's strength. There is nothing worthy of his ambition. If such a person really wants fame and fortune, he may do whatever he wants in today's world. But because he saved her life, he has always been by her side, in this strange world. In this world, without the original owner's parents or friends, Lily was actually very grateful to him for having someone to talk to. 7 years passed slowly while Li Yangziu taught her swordsmanship. During these 12 years, Lily has grown up slowly. The original owner looks pretty and sweet. Because of being on the ship, Lily has a long hair. The curly hair was not cut off, but stayed on. It had reached her thighs now. She didn't know how old this body was, but she should be able to guess that it looked like 20 years old at most. Thinking of yesterday, Li Yangziu said that he wanted to eat blue ribbon fish. This kind of fish is unique to the deep sea and is not easy to see on the sea. Lily discovered that she was not afraid of sea water 10 years ago. She originally jumped into the sea to escape. Thinking that multiple skills would lead to multiple lives, she wanted to learn to swim. Unexpectedly, when she slowly prepared to dive into the sea, she found that she was in the sea as if she were on a flat surface, her body could breathe freely, and even there is also a sense of relaxation. When she jumped into the sea and fainted, it probably had something to do with the fact that she fainted due to the pressure on her body after jumping from a high place. As for her not being afraid of sea water, it was not like the original owner could swim. More, she thought of the blessing of her Dragon King. When she was in the sea, she felt just like when she became the Dragon King of Jinghe River, as if there is nothing wrong with living in the water. If the Dragon King's blessing really brings her such benefits, then she originally thought that she could only summon heavy rain to change the weather, so she would be too stingy with this collection. She was originally going to go into the sea to catch fish. Lily could come and go freely in the sea. Even where she went into the sea might be unclear to many people, but she had an instinctive feeling in her heart, so even if no matter how far she runs, she can come back safely. As soon as she changed her clothes, there was a sudden vibration in the sea, and a beast-like cry rang out. Lily was about to go into the sea, but the sea water was divided by something, and a huge head poked out, hold head high. This was the strange snake whose tail was cut off by Li Yangziu. Lily discovered that she had the ability to summon these monsters inexplicably since she entered the water again. She thought it was an accident at first, but when she was scared to death, she discovered that these monsters she didn't mean to hurt her at all, but she seemed to understand her intention. If she asked these monsters to stay away, they would not dare to follow too close. After trying a few times, Lily discovered that it was not an accident. These few monsters would not dare to follow her too close. At the beginning of the year, she also began to try to think of ways to summon these monsters. Sometimes when she shouted, monsters nearby would appear, and if she went into the water without shouting, these monsters would also appear. When Lily saw this strange snake again, she was no longer as frightened as when she saw it for the first time. She laughed directly, "Ang Ang, you are here. Brother Li wants to eat blue ribbon fish. You can help me catch some." The snake's tail that was cut off by Li Yangziu now grew back. After hearing Lily's instructions, its huge eyes showed a bit of meekness, and it roared again, causing the nearby sea water to turn upside down. When the waves started, the hull of the ship shook violently, and then it fell back into the sea water. After splashing huge waves, its tail held the pirate ship firmly, and it waited until the sea calmed down before diving back into the seabed. After getting familiar with this group of monsters, Lily found that they were not malicious towards her. Sometimes she would cook some fresh fish meat when she encountered them. After processing it a little, she would always divide it into a few pieces every time she saw them. At this moment, the strange snake appeared. Lily let it help her do something again, and naturally dragged out a basket of fish that had been prepared for a long time from the kitchen. When a whirlpool emerged from the sea water and its high head emerged from the sea again, its neck bulged. Now he sprayed at the lily, and plump blue ribbon fish were sprayed onto the deck along with the sea water. Thank you. Lily threw the fish she had prepared a long time ago under the boat. The strange snake quickly put its head over and bit into it, then screamed happily and started to stir in the sea water. To be continued.